Hello, everyone. Sunday, 13th of September. So let's get right into it. The Holy Bible, book of Revelation, chapter 13, the beast from the sea. Then I saw a beast with 10 horns and 7 heads rising out of the sea. There were 10 royal crowns on its horns and blasphemous names on its heads. The beast I saw was like a leopard with the feet of a bear and the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave the beast his power and his throne and great authority. One of the heads of the beast appeared to be mortally wounded, but the mortal wound was healed, and the whole world marveled and followed the beast. They worshiped the dragon, who had given authority to the beast, and they worshiped the beast, saying, "Who is like the beast, and who can wage war against it?" The beast was given a mouth to speak arrogant and blasphemous words, and authority to act for 42 months. And the beast opened its mouth to speak blasphemies against God and to slander his name and his tabernacle, those who dwell in heaven. Then the beast was permitted to wage war against the saints and to conquer them, and it was given authority over every tribe and people and tongue and nation. And all who dwell on earth will worship the beast, all whose names have not been written from the foundation of the world in the book of life belonging to the Lamb who was slain. He who has an ear, let him hear. If anyone is destined for captivity, into captivity he will go. If anyone is to die by the sword he must be killed. Here is a call for the perseverance and faith of the saints. The beast from the earth. Then I saw another beast rising out of the earth. This beast had 2 horns, like a lamb, but spoke like a dragon. And this beast exercised all the authority of the first beast and caused the earth and those who dwell in it to worship the first beast, whose mortal wound had been healed. And the second beast performed great signs to cause even fire from heaven to come down to earth in the presence of the people. Because of the signs it was given to perform on behalf of the first beast, it deceived those who dwell on the earth, telling them to make an image to the beast that had been wounded by the sword and yet had lived. The second beast was permitted to give breath to the image of the first beast, so that the image could speak and cause all who refused to worship it to be killed. The mark of the beast. And the second beast required all people, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their forehead, so that no one could buy or sell unless he had the mark, the name of the beast or the number of its name. Here is a call for wisdom. Let the one who has insight calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and that number is 666. What does Revelation chapter 13 mean? This chapter contains 4 of the most iconic concepts contained in Revelation. The 2 beasts described here are the figures often referred to as the Antichrist and the false prophet. The symbol mandated for all followers of the Antichrist, administered by the false prophet, is the mark of the beast, which is further related to the number 666. The first beast is described as coming from the sea. Most interpreters see this as a reference to the Mediterranean, and this person as a political military leader with roots in that area. The description of this creature is peculiar, but entirely symbolic, with each aspect representing part of that figure's power or character. This figure will be empowered by Satan to exert near unlimited power over the earth. This includes persecution and murder of Christians, accompanied by overt blasphemy against God and cult-like worship from the people of earth. In most interpretations, this is the end times figure popularly referred to as the Antichrist. The second beast arises from the land, which some interpret as a reference to Israel. As with the first beast, the symbolic description suggests his role and characteristics. In this case, Those are mostly spiritual and religious. This person is most typically labeled as the false prophet, though his attempts to mimic Jesus suggests it might be fair to title this figure as the Antichrist. This person is also supernaturally empowered by the devil, performing false miracles and leading people to worship the first beast. The second beast also implements a worldwide identification, the mark of the beast. Earlier passages referred to God placing a seal on his people. This used the Greek root word sphragus, which is a signet or signature expressing value and protection. The mark of Satan, however, is described using the word charagma, which is what livestock owners use to mark their animals, a brand. Later statements in Revelation make it clear the mark of the beast is not something taken by accident. Those who accept this mark do so knowing that it means worshiping the beast and rejecting God. Those who refuse to take this mark, such as Christians, will be unable to buy or sell anything, and many will be executed. This mark is connected in some unknown way to the figure 666. We've already talked multiple times about this. And in this year, 2020, there's a lot of speculation with the way technology is today and with this possible vaccine, what they're going to require. I think people can now visualize in their own mind when they've gone to stores that won't let them in unless they're wearing a mask. I think it's very easy to understand now that governments and certain establishments will be able to turn off your right to enter stores or to buy food or to buy anything if they choose to. They'll be able to turn off your bank accounts. They'll be able to isolate you very successfully. And that is why, in my opinion, this is when we really should be, for what other word you want to call it, pray, meditate, discuss with those in your circle, your family, your friends, and making a plan. Somebody asked me today, well, where can you go to escape this? Definitely not in the cities, right? Someplace rural. In my opinion, someplace where you don't have to heat your house so you don't freeze to death. Someplace where you can grow your own food. Someplace where you can find clean water. If there's plenty of sunshine, you can use solar panels or wind turbines or other means of creating electricity for those applications that you need electricity. I always come back to the Ernest Hemingway book, The Sun Also Rises, where he has a section in the book and two guys are talking. They're like, hey, Joe, how did you go bankrupt? And he goes, two ways, gradually and then all at once. And you can see that in the stock market. You can see that with so many areas of life where, you know, it's like this, it's like this, it's like this, it's just going along. And then you start saying, well, I guess nothing's going to happen. And then boom, and it already has happened. And that's why I like the saying, it's better to be a year early than a day late. And I also like Titanic analogies because we know what happened to that ship. It was this mighty ship that could never sink, unsinkable. And down she went. And it was mortally wounded for 3 hours or so before anybody figured out that there was anything wrong. And then they didn't tell the crew. They lied to everybody on the ship. And they started getting certain people off the ship while everybody was singing and dancing. And then they locked the poorer people down below so they couldn't get up. So it's on you to take care of you and anybody else you care about. So instead of worrying about, well, I'm trying to max out my 401k or oh, I really don't want to sell my house. I'm so comfortable, or whatever. This is, in my opinion, we're already past the point of no return. This ship is mortally wounded. And the sooner you can get off and set up your new life, the better off you'll be. Because I struggle with this myself, is every day that I let go by, it's now going to be one day harder to get set up. Because if I get down to where I'm going and everything falls apart in a week, well, it's going to be tough to set that new world up in a week. I know people who have been setting up for years. Have they had to go out with creature comforts? Yeah, I mean, everything's a trade-off. But I responded to somebody tonight and I said, my buddy Greg, he tells me this. He goes, Dave, I'm never disappointed by anybody or anything. I'm like, what? You're never disappointed? I mean, I get disappointed. He goes, yeah. He goes, you know what the secret is? I said, no, tell me. He goes, never have any expectations. If you don't have expectations for somebody or anything, then you can't be disappointed. I thought that was, and ever since then, that was, I don't know how many years ago, but I've gotten a lot better. I've tried to really lower my expectations. And the other thing is at least in the United States, and I'll speak for men, women can chime in here on what they think, but I think a lot of men my age grew up with the expectation that our self-worth is linked, highly correlated to our net worth and what we can provide and how we can take care of our family and everything around us. And I think that's why a lot of people in the US kill themselves, because they can't handle that type of failure, financial failure. It's too embarrassing. And I think that this is a good time for people to really say, hey, okay, let's start downsizing. Let's see if we can go without a TV. Let's see if we can go without a house. Let's see if we can go without 3 cars. Fill in the blank. And start trying to go back to basics. And that's what I meant about doing it early, taking time, because it will be so overwhelming trying to do this all at once. But if you give yourself, I don't know how much time we have, but people who started several years ago, they've had all this time to get themselves ready. And so they're a lot farther along. And the other thing is, by having no expectations, you're focused on today. And by focusing on today, that, in my opinion, brings a greater degree of happiness, because you're not worried about tomorrow and you're not worried about yesterday. You're worried about maximizing your time right here and now. Like right now, I'm in this conversation with you. I'm not thinking of whatever other things I was thinking about. Proof's in the pudding, right? So I've already made up my mind that I'm going to take my energy away from my former life and put it towards my new life. And I'm slowly transitioning now. And hopefully it's a good decision. But I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just doing what I think. I've thought a lot about this. I've been planning for this for years. And my plan did not go exactly according to plan. I don't have the same people riding along with me that I started with, but I can't control that. I can only control myself and how I choose to look at and react to it. Okay, so the Serenity Prayer. This is one my mother gave me years ago. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. That's the one that gives me the strength to keep pushing. Before you came on, what I said to people is, I was just wrapping it up. I said, the time for action is past. Okay, we're basically the Titanic. We've already been mortally wounded, and you may be comfortable, but every day that goes by is a day that you could have been preparing your new life. And it comes down to what my buddy Greg said about expectations. I think I've told you this. He said he's never disappointed with anybody or anything because he doesn't have expectations.
Okay.
And that's what people have to do is unfortunately, the life, I hate to break it to you if you haven't realized this yet, the life that you grew up believing was real life is not real life.
No, it's not.
You've been living a fantasy.
Well,
You've been pulling in the future to support your today.
well, you know what? I hate to say it, but now that I'm older too, I realize that the last 50 to 100 years, say 100 years in particular for America, and even more so the last 50 years when we got off the gold standard and we were able to construct the OPEC or petrodollar, it's been a total freaking facade. It's analogous to the Matrix movie. And it's also for some of you guys that aren't familiar with this guy, you should read up on him. He's days gone by, but he was a brilliant management person. I used to read a lot of his stuff. You probably know who he is, Dave. Is Peter Drucker. He was saying this 25, 30 years ago when it was so out of vogue and unpopular. People were like, dude, what are you, nuts? You're just gone. He was basically saying 30 years ago the grand illusion and delusion of America. And he traced it back to World War II. You know, at the end of World War II, there was nobody standing. Every modern economy was absolutely decimated and destroyed. Through the grace of God or whatever you want to say, for whatever reason, maybe luck, I don't know, U.S. was the only one standing. So is it any surprise that we had about a 20 or 30-year jump for a long time on anybody? You know, the Japanese started to catch us finally, maybe the late 60s, early 70s, you know, when they, you know, we finally, you know, Europe was decimated. The entire world, except for South America, for the most part, was decimated.
Thanks to the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a major moat, a massive moat, natural moat. So,
I
you know,
always use the example of Usain Bolt. If you ran a 100-yard dash with Usain Bolt, and I put you on the 80-yard line, you're gonna look pretty good for a while.
Yeah, yeah.
But eventually he's gonna get you.
That's a good point. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we had a lot of, you know, World War II gave us a lot of false props. I mean, it all started in 1913, like you always say, with the centralized bank, the Fed, you know, Woodrow Wilson ushering stuff in, League of Nations. It goes on and on and on. And then, in a way, World War II, in a way, was, you know, after the Great Depression, was a blessing for us, right? You know, it enabled everybody, I hate to say it again, to get destroyed. We were the last man standing. So, yeah, we were the natural inheritant superpower at that point after Britain in the pound and sterling.
Think of the stupidity of the citizens of the United States, me included, because I haven't shut it down. But think about this: since World War II, how many conflicts or wars have we won?
I'll tell you how many.
Let me finish my thought, will you, please?
Yeah.
Okay. So how many conflicts have we won? But yet we continue to pour more money than the next 20 countries or whatever it is combined towards weapons that don't defeat anybody.
Yeah. So to add to what you said, yeah, you're spot on. Yeah.
Which led us to go off the gold standard and has now created this debt that we can't sustain.
100%. So I don't want to be disparaging or sound negative, folks, but the reality is, to Dave's point, since World War II, we've been in approximately, and most people don't realize this, you can find the list if you look for it on the internet. I don't have it anymore. We've been in approximately 70 conflicts since World War II. Most people only know of maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 major ones, you know, Nam, Korea, etc. We've been in around 65 or 70 conflicts if you count Panama, Grenada, etc. It's an unbelievable amount. And essentially, that I'm aware of, we haven't won any of them. Yet we have,
you know. Grenada.
Huh?
We did beat Grenada.
Okay. I mean, to your point, basically.
Clint Eastwood went there. I saw it on the movie.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, yeah. But essentially, we haven't won anything. We didn't win Korea. We didn't win Vietnam. Those are major ones, right? We
Yeah, and we
didn't
were
win.
fighting. We were fighting in 1950 China, and people
Yeah.
today think we're going to kick the shit out of them.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I don't want to go there. I got it about
Did
4
you see
years
that
ago.
photo I sent of the Chinese flag?
No, I didn't see
Oh,
that.
Jesus
No,
Christ.
no.
I sent it
no.
to you so that we could discuss it.
Okay. All right. I did respond to a couple of your emails today, actually. That one I didn't see.
Well,
But
the Chinese did a flag planting in the Himalayas near the conflict with India.
not surprised.
And the photo is recreating the flag raising on Mount Suribachi at Iwo Jima.
Oh, my God. Wow.
That's what I sent you.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I'll have to look at that. That's amazing. Wow. Yeah, they want their time in the sun. They want their glory. There's no doubt about it. And they're going to push for it. And they're going to keep pushing for it until they get it.
Well, yeah, let's not go down this rabbit hole. Okay.
Yeah.
All
I'll leave it at that. Yeah. But
basically, the part of Revelations that you missed is Revelation 13, talk about the two beasts and the mark of the beast.
Yeah, which is coming. It's absolutely coming. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
so
the example I used is if people don't believe it, all they had to see to believe it now is you already can't go into certain stores if you're not wearing a mask. So,
100%.
So it's not much of a leap to believe that they will require you to get some sort of mark if you want to buy or sell anything.
So to your point, I'm going by memory now since I missed this. Do you want to pull up real quick Revelation 13, 17 through 19?
The emphasis on here is a call for wisdom. Turn off your TV.
Yeah, don't continue to get dumbed down. Steer, with, flatline brain waves at your ambient screen.
And you're not getting any real, the TV offers nothing. It really does.
It offers nothing. No, absolutely. I mean, they've done enough studies on it by now. They know that essentially your brain waves flatline when you're watching the boob tube.
And the information that they give you is garbage. It's all garbage.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say is with the mainstream media, I think what they do is to make it enticing. There's probably little shreds of truth here and there, in there. But by and large, it's junk. It's garbage. They weave a little bit of there and there to get you.
Like the weatherman who's right 50% of the time?
Yeah, that too. Exactly. Yep. Or the weather girl who's, wearing the extra tight shirt. That just to get the viewers.
Yeah, that's the Brazil channel, not the U.S. channel.
Oh, okay. All right. The roar of the crowd. And then when you didn't hear the roar of the crowd, you could hear the players, grunting and hitting each other. But then you could hear the echo.
Yeah, it was making me angry. It was making me angry. I was like, this is like insulting.
It is.
That they would actually dub the crowd noises over these when they've chosen not to have crowds in the stadiums. Yeah,
no, it's ridiculous. It is maddening, angering in a way, and absolutely ridiculous. But we seem to be accepting it as a whole. Some of us don't, but the bulk do. Think it's normal. Now, the new normal.
Well, I mean, they're trying to tell you that, hey, everything's okay. Look, there's crowds, so that they can look back in 3 years or 5 years and say, oh, well, there was nothing wrong. There was a crowd there, even though there's nobody in the stands.
There's nobody in the stands. It's a friggin' intercom, recorded voices. I mean, right? I mean, the stadium normally holds 60 or 70,000 people. There's nobody in the stands, guys. Okay, so where's the crowd noise coming from? Right? It's obviously pre-recorded, right? Right? How is that normal? I mean, we're going to the Hunger Games. This is what this is starting to become, right? It's becoming the friggin' Hunger Games. And nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. Oh, that is absolutely astounding. I wonder where they got that idea from.
Well, I actually wrote back to the Chinese person and asked them.
Yeah? Did he respond?
Nope, this is what I sent back to them. Here, I'll show you what
They're great at copying stuff, that's for sure, and stealing.
Okay, this is what I sent her back.
Yeah, I get it. You sent her back the real deal.
And then she wrote back to me. She goes, the U.S. Marines on Iwo Jima. I was like, so I wrote back to her. I said, yes, indeed. I said, that's very good. I said, did you have to look that up? She goes, no. She goes, we study Pacific history.
Oh, they surely do. Of course they do. It's their backyard.
It's not going to.
Free agent signings.
Hear the crowd?
Let's see what he can do.
Yeah.
Hear the crowd, folks? There's nobody in the stands.
And the crowd goes, oh, wait a minute. There's 6 cutouts in there. Sorry. I mean, it's so friggin' ridiculous. You got to just laugh. You got to laugh.
We talked about this before.
Either that or you cry.
Everything in this country is fake. It's a facade. It's not real. It's all artificially. I'm telling you.
Well, that's clearly fake. So, you know.
The ones who have, and I'll go back to the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Yeah.
We have to have the courage to take action. And the faith that we're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
That's all we can do. That's all we can do.
Well, unfortunately, the action, most people are taking action every day. They get up and they go to work and they do it all over again.
Yeah, well, they're trying to support something that's not real.
They've inherited that laid out paradigm.
Yeah, it's been held together with glue.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can see it. I mean, now it doesn't mean that I'm right, but I think what I see is correct. And this whole system, and I think that's why the people who are the criminals are getting so emboldened now, is they know it's about to come apart. So they're grabbing, like you do, Dan, they're grabbing as much as they can while they can still grab it.
Yeah.
It's like raiding the target when the looters go in.
Yeah, it's becoming a free-for-all.
Because they know there's no rule of law. They're not going to be actually held accountable.
No. I don't think I can argue that. The little guy, the average everyday stiff, would be held accountable, and then some. You know, you saw that wrestler in Iran a couple days ago, the 27-year-old wrestler. They executed him. You know, Iran executed a wrestler.
No, for what?
Yeah, supposedly in 2018 he murdered a bodyguard or something.
Oh. How did they kill him there?
I don't know how he was executed. I don't know the particulars.
Well, I've seen video of the executions in Saudi Arabia, and those are about as brutal as you get.
What do they use, a sword or something?
One of those giant Hassan chopped swords. I forget the name of that sword.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
And
I cut your head off.
Oh, it comes off like a hot knife through butter, man. It's like a claymation until you see the blood come out of their body. Absolutely astonishing. I remember this one woman. This woman was being killed for really nothing, and she refused to sit there and be a good little girl and wait for her head to cut off. She was fighting him, and he's hacking her like this with the sword, and she's like, ah! You know, and he finally had to stand on her and then started hacking her like this. It was just awful. And
Unbelievable. We're capable of so many good things, and then we're capable of the complete opposite. It's disgusting.
Well, I haven't done a lot of research into Saudi Arabia, okay? But there's a country that's probably, does some really cruel things, but they're our ally because we need them. And, they're the ones who helped us create the petrodollar.
Yeah, we created the petrodollar with them, and in return, we're providing them muscle, military muscle.
Yeah, well, they buy a lot of our products.
Yeah.
So, so when we blow up Libya and Afghanistan and Iraq and Syria,
we're in Yemen and everywhere else, yeah.
Does anybody see the hypocritical nature of that?
No, they don't. No, they don't. Because, look, I don't want to get derogatory, but most Americans, they barely know U.S. history. They barely can, identify a, nameless state on our own continental, United States map. So now you're going to ask them where something like, Madagascar is, or Malaysia, or, Burma. Have them point out where's Bahrain. What peninsula is Bahrain on?
Well,
they're not going to know.
Right. But what I'm saying is, supposedly the approval ratings of our Congress, it's like 5%, right? It's
Okay.
like 5%.
It's pretty low. I didn't think it was that low. Wow.
Yeah, I saw a poll where it was 5%. Do you have faith in this Congress? Any Congress? Yes.
Not anymore. No, not at this point. No.
Why would you ever have had it? But the point is,
I did in the 80s, actually. I did in the 80s.
Okay, let's not go off point here. I'm making a point.
Yeah.
Okay. The point is I would venture to guess that our Congress, our government, our president, all of them, they lie to us almost all the time. So why would they believe anything that they say about this illness or this economy or these conflicts? Why would anybody believe what's coming out of ABC, CBS, CNN, Fox, right? It's all propaganda.
Well, but apparently the bulk of the public believes it, dude, because I can't walk into the supermarket or Walmart without a mask, without getting gang tackled, practically. And I'm not kidding. I mean, on every store that I go to, by decree of the governor, and I won't list his name, okay, because I won't give the state away.
The Joker.
But with the accent, you all can tell. The governor by decree says, wear the mask, and all the sheeple said, okay. That's where we're at. We're not
well,
we're not independent, rugged individualists.
How many people tell
anymore.
you, Dan, just put the mask on. Don't make a big deal out of it. Just put it on.
Yeah, people in my own family. Right? Yeah.
Well, my point is, that's what they'll 100%. Say about the mark of the beast.
100%.
Just take it.
Yep.
We get along.
When the vaccine comes out, and those that don't want to take it, they're going to be ridiculed, and they're going to be called troublemakers. And people are going to say to you, just go along, man. Don't make trouble. That's what's going to happen. And you're going to have a decision at that split moment to say yay or nay or drop dead. Right? I mean, really, are we free anymore if I don't have the decision to be able to say who can plunge a friggin' needle into my vein or not? Really? Bottom line is you're injecting a virus and God knows what else into my body. And if I'm not comfortable with that, right, I don't have a right to say no, right? So much for habeas corpus.
Well, guess what? We've already had to subject ourselves to that in our lifetimes. You couldn't have gone to public school without certain inoculations.
Yeah. No, I know.
And my parents had got them for me. And when I was in the military, I'll never forget, they were giving me these shots. I was like, what is that? They're like, they were ready to beat me up saying, who are you to ask what this is?
Yeah. Keep your mouth shut. puke. Your property of Uncle Sam.
Yep. But they quarantined us after a couple of them. And if you literally had this live virus on your arm, and you were under I think it was 24 or 48 hour quarantine, and if it turned the wrong color, they shipped you off to wherever. They really sent you to quarantine then.
Yeah. You had no say in the matter.
Well, I did have a say, but it would have required immediate discharge. Who knows what would have happened? They didn't get into specifics.
Dishonorable discharge.
We didn't get into the whole beasts.
Look, at all you have to know, folks, it may not be as literal as what the Bible is saying, but symbolically, what the Bible is saying, it's absolutely going to happen. We see it now, guys. We can see the utmost edges or cusp of it, in my opinion. But eventually, as it continues to grow and proliferate, there's going to be a time, and they're doing it to us already, slowly but surely, marching us inch by inch, buying and selling, where you're going to be inhibited unless you do otherwise. And how are they going to do that? We're going to the electronic dollar, folks. It's happening, okay? And for those of you that think, well, what's the big deal with that? We don't need paper money and coins and debit cards and all this stuff. Okay, fine. We're already electronic with debit cards to an extent and credit cards. I get it. So we've been kind of, weaned down that road. But when we go totally electronic, where there will never be under the table cash transactions, if you will, ever again, at that point, you will be totally controllable. Oh, you're paranoid, Dan. What are you talking about, totally controllable? Well, when it's purely electronic, backed by the blockchain, which is totally immutable and can never be changed because that's the nature of it, okay? And if they want you to do something at that point because you're now dependent upon electronic currency and backed by the blockchain, which is where it's going, then they can control you. Oh, they can? Yeah, real simple. With an electronic push of a button, you'll no longer have access to all your electronic money. If you don't do,
and if you think, oh, well, when it gets that bad, then I'll go off grid and I'll start doing all these things.
It's too late.
It's going to be too late.
Too late.
It's going to be too late.
Too late.
That's what I was saying earlier. You need to pray and meditate now about what you really believe is coming down, and then you have to have the courage to take that action. And it's going to be better to go 1 year early than 1 day late.